This is the EVP Podcast.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the EVP Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Beaker.
And I am one of your hosts, Ghosty.
All right. Hey, so...
Smash!
Beaker smash! That's my Ghost Stop keychain that fell. That's Gus from Ghost Stop. He doesn't fit.
Gus the Ghost.
I made it fit.
Oh, shit, look at you. Forcing things.
It wouldn't be the first time. No, I'm just kidding. So last episode, you guys talked about...
Yeah, thanks to our last guest.
DVO. I think it's time. So here's the deal. Because we're recording on Father's Day. And some people know, some people don't. We did take a month off in April because I no longer have a father. He passed away on his birthday, the ripe old age of 77. So if you were wondering why we were on hiatus for a little bit, I just wasn't in the right place to be there for you all, but I'm back, obviously.
Yeah.
And that episode was, DVO was nice enough to step in and help out when I was going through my tough time. So we want to thank him for coming and being on the show that he's a part of. Very much a part of. I found it very interesting listening to that episode. And I told you over dinner today that you gave actually a really good explanation on the difference between a ghost and a spirit.
Well, thank you, sir.
And me personally, I think the words are interchangeable, and I know that not everybody feels the same way. But for those of you who are wondering, go back and listen to that episode if you haven't already, and you can hear DVO's brother Ghosty talk about the types of the difference between ghost and spirit.
That's me you're talking about.
Yeah, pretty much.
If you got lost there.
I don't know where my brain was going with that one. I did also tell you that they were telling a story of someone that probably had sleep paralysis. And I had a chuckle when you're like, definitely not sleep apnea. And I'm like, well, no shit. But overall, I think it was a really good episode. You guys did a great job. So DVO, come back more.
Want to say a shout out and thanks to Dr. Ghost Hunters for allowing us to go. You couldn't make it, but DVO and I ended up going to the old Miners Hospital in Park City, and we could talk about that on a future episode.
Yeah, we have this awesome habit of volunteering people to come be on our show. And when we did that with Dr. Ghost Hunter, he replied with a picture of our podcast that we said that on. And he's like, I'm in. So we'll have to coordinate with him. We will get Dr. Ghost Hunter, maybe both of them, on the show to come and talk about that investigation. It sounds like you guys had an eventful night, but we will save that for another episode.
Yeah.
This week, we're traveling all the way across the world to the great state of Arizona.
200,000 miles away.
220 million miles to the south of Texas. Not even close. So yeah, we're going to Tombstone, Arizona.
Tombstone, Arizona.
Yeah. You want to know why?
Because there's ghosts.
Yep. And Wyatt Earp was there once.
Yep. Probably Wyatt Earp's ghosts.
Then Doc Holliday.
Yeah, him and his Huckleberry. He's there.
Yeah, I'm your Huckleberry. And some other people, some famous people. We'll talk about that in just a minute.
Yeah, Wyatt Earp's brother, his famous brother.
Yeah, Virgil,
yeah.
And there was a mean gang. They had a big shootout at the OK Corral. And it's not just shit made up for Tombstone or the Wyatt Earp movie. Tombstone's better, by the way. Mm-hmm. But
yeah,
some of this stuff actually happened at this little place called the Birdcage Theater.
Yeah. Yeah, lots of floozies, a lot of loose bird women.
So, before we get into the history of the birdcage, when did the birdcage come into your state of mind? When were you first kind of realize that this was a place or that it was haunted?
I have heard about it from Ghost Adventure videos or Ghost Adventures episodes that were there.
So I think the first one was back in 2009, right?
Right. But just from that was really it. Me hearing about it, I don't even remember it being referenced in the movie Tombstone or anything.
You know what's funny is when I was doing the research, I did see on one website saying that it was in both Wyatt Earp and Tombstone. So now
I guarantee that it was, but it was probably referenced in just random dialogue.
So now I'm like, I want to go back and watch Tombstone for two reasons: one, to see if it actually was mentioned or if they actually went to the birdcage, and two, because Tombstone's a freaking awesome movie. If you haven't seen it, watch it.
I think it does show that, because I think it does show Wyatt Earp meeting his second wife.
His mistress.
Yeah, his mistress wife.
That was at the birdcage.
Yep.
He had his own private room. So I first heard about it in like 2018 or 19-ish. There was a podcast that I listened to every now and then called Haunted Places. Mm-hmm. It's unfortunately no longer going. It had a good run in the 5 or 6 years that it was going. They did a ton of episodes, and that's where I get some of my research from. Because they do a really good job. That podcast actually not only tells stories of like the place, but they do like character like reenactments of some.
Oh, like the voices of.
Yeah, no, they'll some of the stories will be like fictional, but they have like the sound effects and all that cool stuff. So it's actually a really good podcast. Terry Finley actually turned me on to that. I know she'd get mad if I didn't say that. So we're gonna talk a little bit about Tombstone, and the Birdcage Theater. Yeah. So we're gonna start off with Tombstone itself. Tombstone, Arizona. It got its start in 1877 when a prospector named Ed Schifflin found silver there. Now, as news of this spread across the country, it's like the city kind of popped up overnight.
Pretty much all the ghost towns, or
all these boom towns.
Boom towns, yeah.
So like all these eager miners kind of flock to the area, hoping to strike it rich because they're like, oh, there's silver. And there's kind of a recurring theme with our episodes lately.
Yeah, there's a lot of miners.
We're talking about all these boom towns: Virginia City, Mizpah, and now the Birdcage Theater. Elko. Yeah, talking about all these boom towns. I don't know. We're just keeping it close. Zach is.
The Wild West.
The Wild West.
Ghosts of the Wild West.
Now, places like the general store, the saloons, the hotels, and even brothels, they're added to Tombstone's main street as quick as they could build them. Like they were trying to get just everything up. At its height, so it's about 1881, the population boomed to about 1,000 people, and a year later, in 1882, I think it reached about 5,000 and eventually got up to close to 15,000 people in just 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, Boomtown.
Now, at its height, I thought you're going to find this one interesting.
Okay,
if you didn't already know, at its height, a population in Tombstone, it was home to over 3,500 licensed prostitutes.
Count me in.
Yep, you would have been there. I know it. You were like, silver, who cares? Hookers, I'm in.
Yeah.
So the Birdcage Theater itself, it opened on December 26, 1881. So for some reason, the day after Christmas, they're like, hey, Merry Christmas, everybody.
Well, they were probably building this place for a while, so they probably
most likely
big things planned for like an after Christmas event. Right. Guarantee it.
Well, probably because it was opened by a couple named Lottie and William, or Billy Hutchins. Hutchinson, sorry. Now, the Hutchinsons originally wanted the Birdcage to be a wholesome, family-friendly variety.
But they didn't have a name.
Theater.
I couldn't find a name that they originally called this when they first opened. Could you find a name?
I couldn't either.
Yeah, because it just references the Birdcage, but not like these guys called it this.
Yeah, I don't know. The Birdcage, I think, name did come later. I think. So after the theater opened, they hosted a ladies' night for the respectable women of Tombstone, because again, they were trying to make it a family-friendly thing. And the women were able to attend the event for free on ladies' night. Now, the idea was to attract a tasteful crowd to whom they could perform shows and exotic acts and plays. Now, sadly, the town's population was not as enamored with the theater as much as they hoped. They ended up canceling ladies' night and began to put on more basic shows that were more appealing to the mining community.
Right, because I mean, how many rich people are going to be hanging out there, just besides like the few owners of the mines? Like that's really
right. So the majority of these like 15,000 people or so that lived in Tombstone,
miners,
were unmarried miners.
Yeah.
So they're not really. It wasn't really a family town. You know what I mean? So it kind of was like, it's not working out. So they started doing shows that were more for the miners, right? So a year later, or it's not, maybe not even a year later, it was the next year in 1882, the Hutchins actually sold the theater to a gentleman named Hugh McCrum and John Strauff. Now, I've read a couple different websites where they say these two guys shut the place down. I don't know for sure on that. They held on to it for about 4 years. And in 1886, it was again sold to a guy named John Bignon. Bignon then changed the name of the theater to the Elite Theater, and he started remodeling the building. Under his management, along with his wife, Big Minnie.
I like that name.
The theater started catering to the miners' more vulgar and adult sensibilities. So, in 1886, when John and Big Minnie came in, they basically turned it into this, as one website called it, a den of iniquity.
A den of iniquity.
Yes, it became bad. Like
hedonism.
There was no, they call it lawlessness.
The wickedest.
The wickedest, wildest. I have it at the top.
Yeah.
The wickedest, wildest night spot in the West, as said by the Times Magazine, I believe. Now, so the Elite Theater at this point, it became home to some of the most expensive prostitutes known, that were known as the Painted Ladies. They were also sometimes called the Soiled Doves or the Tainted Angels.
So does that just mean that they were wearing makeup? The Painted Ladies? What did that even mean?
Quite possibly, because like at a different brothel, they weren't called the Painted Ladies. They were called something else. Like there was another brothel. I mean, there were so many brothels and so many like I said, there was like.
But that's probably like the top shelf prostitutes.
Probably. Well, it did say the most expensive.
Yeah, I want one of the Painted Ladies.
Yes.
So you had to say you'd have to say the right terms depending on which brothel you're at.
Yeah, they had different names for different brothels. So.
The Wild West.
So not only was it the home of like the most expensive soiled doves or tainted angels or prostitutes, whatever you want to call them, the Painted Ladies, it was also a high stakes gambling casino there. And it was
that poker. So they had like the longest poker game.
We'll get there. Don't get ahead of me.
Oh, I'm getting so excited.
Don't get ahead of me. When we get there, I'll let you talk about it.
Okay.
Okay. So in there, they had curtained balcony booths upstairs where the bird cages women would work. I think this is why they called it the birdcage.
Yeah,
because it was up top. Like you had the main theater, and then there was like, kind of think like the balconies at like at the opera.
Right. That's theater, what I think. But that's originally
they had curtains so they could hide in there.
Yeah, and I think it looked like
that's where
originally
the ladies worked.
That's what it was for the theater and for the upper deck of the theater. And they were like, you know what'd be cool if we just boned up here.
Yep, pretty much.
Close that curtain. We're boning.
So it was said that the women would also like hang cribs in the gambling hall for their babies to sleep in while they saw their clients. So it's like, hey, baby, go sleep. I'm going to get some busy and make you a brother or sister.
Just stay here for 5 minutes. Mama,
I got to go give me some strange.
5 minutes.
I got to give me some strange. Now, today there are 14 cribs that are still hanging along the sides of the gambling hall. The Birdcage's reputation for heavy drinking, sex, gambling, and violence was nationally renowned. And this was in the New York Times, like I said earlier. It called it the wildest, wickedest night spot on the West. Okay. Now, some of the acts that were there at the Birdcage, one of the first acts, you had a lady that went by Mademoiselle de Granville.
Mademoiselle de Granville.
Yeah, her real name?
Alma Hayes.
Alma Hayes. Also,
female Hercules.
Or the woman with the iron jaw. So, what she did, she performed feats of strength. Which would make sense because they called her female Hercules. She specialized in picking up heavy, oh my goodness. Heavy objects with her teeth. Other acts that performed there at the Birdcage were the Irish comic duo Barnes and Trayers. There was a comic singer named Irene Baker. There was a serious opera singer, Carrie Delmar, and as well as a comedian named Nola Forrest. Entertainment included masquerade balls featuring cross-dressing entertainers such as comedian David Waters and Will Curlew. And because it was open 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, minors could drink and dance all night long if they wanted to.
Is there even anywhere that even is like that anymore?
7-Eleven.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as like being open.
No, yeah, I'm talking about like a bar that's open 24/7, 365.
Probably not in the States.
Because
maybe over in Europe.
Yeah, but yeah, out here, that's crazy though. That because
I don't know. I watched How I Met Your Mother, and they seem to have their bars always open there
on the East Coast.
On the East Coast, I don't know. I've only been to We're not there. I got one more paragraph, and then you can talk about the poker game.
What are you talking about?
Okay, so some of the other popular forms of entertainment were the Cornish wrestling competitions and magic shows.
So why was Cornish wrestling so popular back then?
I don't know. It's all the people from England coming over and wrestling. Like,
it was like English jiu-jitsu is what they look like.
I bet you anything it was like bare knuckle boxing.
No, it wasn't. It was
like English jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was like.
We'll go with that. I don't know why it's popular. It just was.
Cool.
And magic shows. They like magic.
Magic was cool back then, though.
It's still cool.
So did you hear about that one magician? About. That one magician there?
Why don't you tell me about the one magician?
So he thought he had a good little setup there where he was telling people he could catch bullets.
I saw this in the Prestige once.
Yeah. And
catching bullets.
Yeah, he wasn't actually catching them, though.
I wonder if this is where they got that trick from.
I guarantee that's where they got this from.
Because they did that in the Prestige where they had someone like switched out for a real gun and the guy almost got shot in the Prestige. But that happened here as well, right?
Yeah, so he had his decoys out in the audience where they were going to shoot him and stuff, and he was going to act like he caught the bullet, but they just had blanks in their gun. Well, some guy stood up and was like, "Oh yeah, well catch this, you son of a bitch," and then tried to blast him, and somebody came in and pushed the guy before he got him, but the bullet holes are still there in the theater.
Oh, there's lots of bullet holes.
Lots of bullet holes, but that was 4 of the holes right there.
So check this out. We talked about Big Minnie, right?
Yeah, we know Big Minnie.
Did we tell why they called her Big Minnie?
Because she's a big bitch.
She's bitch. She's big. She's bitch.
She's a big old bitch.
Big old bitch. That was a huge bitch. So she was 6 feet tall, right? 230 pounds. Big woman. Not only was she one of like the entertainers there, she would often be found up on stage wearing pink tights, dancing or singing or playing the piano, but she was also the bouncer.
Really?
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
So, I mean, she was owner, bouncer, and entertainer. She did it all.
That is awesome.
Except for she wasn't a birdcage lady.
She
wasn't a painted lady.
No, she was collecting that money, though.
She was like enforcing the painted lady. She's like, hey, I'm a pimp. Let's do this.
Yeah, she was big pimping Big Minnie.
So, now we can
So
talk
the longest poker game in history was played here in the basement, and they had a minimum buy-in, which was $1,000.
Okay, so I did the math. And they also talked about it on Ghost Adventures. That is about $30,000.
$30,000. You are correct. So this started in 1881, and it lasted a total of 8 years, 5 months, 3 days, ending in 1889.
And the reason why it ended?
Did they die?
The theater closed.
Oh, son of a bitch.
That's the only reason why it ended. Otherwise, it probably would have kept going.
They all just died of gambling.
So there was a lot of like kind of big name famous people that played in these games, right? And the thing is like this game, like we mentioned earlier, the theater was open 24/7, 365 a year, right? This place never closed. Except for like a couple times that we'll talk about a little bit later.
And so this whole
time, even like when they shut the doors for one person, like I said, we'll talk about it a little bit later. This whole time, like the game was constantly going. Different players would come and go over the 8 years. It was just constantly going, like nonstop.
And the amount of money that they were buying in with was
$30,000 according to our standards now.
Yeah, so imagine that's how much money was constantly being put down.
Right.
Just to join, and as soon as they were gone, somebody took their spot.
So, who are some of the people that played in these games?
George Hurst.
I'm sure.
Diamond Jim Brady, Adolphus Bush, Doc Holliday, Bat Masterson, and Wyatt Earp.
Right. So we know at least 2 of these names. George Hurst, I think it might have been the son of William Randolph Hearst. I know we've talked about him.
We've talked about him, yeah.
He was like in Virginia City as well.
I was going to say, wasn't he one of the Silver Kings?
I think he was. I think this dude got around. I think it was the son of William Randolph Hearst, which was the guy that like wrote the World, or started the World.
Right.
The newspaper.
Yes.
Watch Newsies. It's in there somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's crazy. Like, so 8 years, right? How much money was passed around during these poker games?
So that was $10 million during that 8 years. But if you times that by 30,
yeah, you're looking at like $300 million.
Holy sheep shit.
Over 8 years. And
the house always wins.
Well, the house, guess how much money the house got?
Like 10% of all that.
10% of all that. Mm-hmm. It's 10% of 300,000.
The whole
300 million. 300 million.
Yeah.
It's like $30 million. So this place was booming when it was around.
Yeah, you had all the big names there. The other thing that the Birdcage is known for is that over the course of its 8 years of operation, 26 people are said to have been killed there. And the theater's plaster walls are covered with over 140, I think it's 146 in total, right?
I don't know. It could be.
Yeah, so those...
It sounds way cooler to be like over 140 instead of giving an exact number.
Just
like,
under 150.
146.
I would say just under 150.
Just under 1 million.
That's how us fishermen talk.
1 million bullets.
So if you catch a fish that's like almost 5 pounds.
Yeah, it's like 6 inches.
You don't say it's 4 pounds.
It's close to 6 inches.
It was about 5 pounds.
That's what you tell her. It's close to 5 pounds. It's almost 6 inches.
Yeah,
Trust
it's right
me on
there.
this. I know what I'm talking about. I've been doing this for a long time.
So those that were killed, they were transported to Tombstone's famous Boot Hill Cemetery in the town's hearse, the Black Maria. It was trimmed with 24-karat gold and sterling silver and was the first vehicle to feature curved glass on its sides. It carried notorious outlaws to their graves, such as the McClary brothers, after the fatal gunfight at the OK Corral.
Now, they said on Ghost Adventures that it's said to have carried at least one person a day.
Well, it was the only hearse.
It was the only hearse, yeah.
And it was in operation for 40 years.
And there was like 15,000 people at one point in time.
Yeah, and I'm guaranteed
the Wild West.
Dying.
Well, I mean,
old age, mining mishaps.
I mean, you see it in Tombstone. Have you seen Tombstone? Or have you seen any Wild West video or movie, right? Mm-hmm. What's the first thing that happens if someone gets caught cheating in a poker game?
Shooting them.
They shoot them.
Yep. You lie and cheat, you son of a bam.
Yep. Boom. Probably dead from the bullet wound.
Mm-hmm.
So I assume there's a lot of cheating that went on.
Guarantee there was. And at a high stakes, probably not at the high stakes table, but guarantee there's a lot of
at the high stakes table, I'm pretty sure they had security and shit watching over that.
Yeah.
Like Wyatt Earp.
Yeah, he was there.
So in March of 1882, so we're jumping back in time just a little bit because this builds up to why the Birdcage ended up closing. Mm-hmm. So the miners in the Grand Central mine actually hit some water when they got about 160 or 620 feet down. At first, the flow of water wasn't large enough to stop them from working, but constant pumping with a 4-inch pump was soon found to be insufficient.
That's a lot of water.
That is a lot of water. So they end up bringing some large Cornish engines.
The wrestlers brought them in.
Wrestlers, probably. When they weren't wrestling, they were bringing.
They were pumping.
They were bringing their pumps, which they kept the water pumping out of the mines for a few more years. Now, May 26, 1886, the Grand Central Mine hoist and pumping plant burned down. And without the railroads to connect it with the rest of the country, Tombstone quickly found itself isolated and without industry because that was kind of what was keeping the town alive. Mm-hmm. Shortly after this, the price of silver dropped to 90 cents per ounce.
What did it drop from?
A lot higher than that.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I mean, you're becoming millionaires off of silver. I don't think you're going to become millionaires off of silver if you're only getting 90 cents per ounce for it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
They got laid off.
Yeah, they laid off all the remaining miners in the mine, or workers in the mines started laying off their employees because silver wasn't making any money anymore. So why keep them? And so miners started getting laid off. People were like, okay, we're out.
Well, yeah, because all those boom towns, I mean, everybody there, they're just nomads. So They just follow the next big boom.
Right.
Next big boom's over here. Well, that's where we're going. And they pretty much just take their house apart and put it on a wagon, ship it to where they're going, and then just rebuild their house again.
I want to do that now.
How crazy would that be?
So they say by 1890, the U.S. Census said the population had gone down to about 1,900 people, which is a huge change.
Mm-hmm. 15,000 to 1,900.
So the Birdcage Theater ended up closing its doors for good in 1892. So I lied about the poker game ending because the poker game ended in 1889. I don't know why it ended. It just did. They're like, you know what? Fuck it. We're done. I have no idea. I didn't see any reason why the game ended. Yeah. Maybe they shot the dealer.
I told you, everyone just died.
Probably.
Everyone was dead.
Well, I mean, people were already leaving anyways because of the fire in 1886. So 3 years later, it makes sense.
It's sat dormant from 1892 to 1934. That was a long time.
Oh, only 44 years or something.
Yeah. But then it reopened as a coffee shop and then now a museum. And it's just a tourist attraction museum. They do ghost tours and ghost hunts there.
Regularly, like daily. I was just looking at their website before we started recording. 7 days a week at like 6:15 p.m. and 8 p.m. And I believe the tickets were $40 a person. And I don't 100% agree with this, but if you have a child that's over the age of 7, accompanied by an adult, they're more than welcome to come. So if you want to pay $40,
well, it's a tour. It's not a ghost hunt.
I know it is a tour, but would you pay? It's like when your daughter was 7, would you pay $40 for her to walk around the haunted place?
No,
right?
No, that should better be free.
Right?
Better be.
I don't know if they gave a discount for kids. I didn't see that, but I know like adults, it's $40 a person to do this walking tour.
Yeah.
And it can't be extremely long if they're doing 2, one at 6:15 and one at 8 o'clock. I know if I went there, I'd probably do the 8 o'clock tour because maybe it goes over a little bit.
Yeah, and maybe they let you into some building or two. Who knows?
So, yeah, because there was gambling and sex and stuff. It's haunted. That's the rules.
And a lot of shooting.
That's how you get
look.
That's how you get Jason Voorhees.
Well, yeah.
That's
teenagers, though.
Teenagers.
You gotta be teenagers.
Yeah, there probably weren't teenagers there.
No. Actually, no. These miners were probably pretty young when they started working. They ran away from home trying to make a living. Guarantee it.
They were probably out really young. Because the life expectancy back then was like
35.
Yeah, right? We're old compared to those standards. It's like, you're ancient. You should be dead. So 26 people died there. Let's talk about one of them.
26 people died.
Let's talk about the frozen drink.
The frozen drink? Tell me about it.
Margarita.
Margarita.
That's a frozen drink, right?
Yep, that's her name. Margarita.
Margarita. She wasn't a frozen drink. She was a painted lady.
Yep, she was painted like a margarita.
In 1882, she was. There was a man named Billy McGreen.
Milgreen.
Billy Milgreen. McGreen?
He was caught.
He was Milgreen. Yep, I can read. Now, he was caught entertaining this tall, dark, and willowy Margarita, also known as the Belle of the Birdcage. Now, Billy was a regular of Little Gertie, the Gold Dollar, who worked at a rival brothel called the Crystal Palace.
Oh, okay. So these were two girls from different brothels.
Yep.
Okay, gotcha.
Good old Billy was not just a regular customer of Little Gertie's. Dude was her living lover. So he lived with her.
Oh, okay.
And he got some strange whenever he wanted.
But it was okay for her because she's getting paid.
Yeah.
He couldn't go spend his money on some strange.
A Million Ways to Die in the West?
This is one of them.
It's okay if it's the woman getting paid, which is fine. I mean, it was a different time. It was over 100 years ago. Haunted by EVP standards.
Yep, has to be.
Little Gertie saw.
She was the belle of the birdcage.
No, that was Margarita.
Margarita was the belle of the birdcage.
Gold Dollar. Little Gertie, the Gold Dollar.
Gold Dollar
happened to come into the birdcage. Saw her man, good old Billy, flirting with Margarita.
Yeah,
she wasn't happy. She,
well, she wasn't afraid.
She wasn't afraid. Well, so Margarita wasn't afraid of little girl or little gold girl. Little gold girl. It's just a new name. That's where we're going with. She wasn't afraid of Little Gertie because she was, kind of small. Now, Gold Dollar had a reputation of being a gutsy, gritty woman. But like I said, Margarita wasn't afraid of her and vastly underestimated her ruthlessness because of her size. Now, she was a very small, kind of petite woman, which is why they called her Little Gertie. Now, when Gold Dollar, like I said, she came into the birdcage and saw Billy and Margarita kind of flirting around with each other.
But she had already heard stories.
Yeah. So that's probably why she was in there.
Yeah, she went storming in there.
My man he's two-timing me.
Somebody probably gave her the word like, hey, he's in there right now, girl. You better go get your man.
Yep, exactly like that. Mm-hmm. Now, she felt slighted, thinking that Margarita had stolen her man from her, which she probably did. So, Gold Dollar.
No, she's just trying to make $1.
Right. Well, yeah.
She's just trying to make some money.
She doesn't care who it comes from.
She don't even know who this guy is.
Gold Dollar cared.
Yeah, that's her.
She came prepared.
She's a ruthless bitch.
She did. She hid in her brassiere or something somewhere.
No, her stiletto.
A stiletto. Well, it was a double-edged stiletto.
Oh, I was thinking it was she pulled it out of her shoe.
No, I think she had it. I think she had it hidden on her person somewhere. She pulled
her meat pocket.
Yeah, sure. Why not? That's a weird place to put a knife. So she when she saw this going on, she grabbed Margarita by the hair.
She grabbed her hair and
pulled her back and just started
Norman Bates style.
Like through her corset in her chest, and from what I understand,
carved
her heart out.
Yeah, because that's how she felt.
Right.
She felt like her heart was carved out.
You took my heart, I'm taking yours.
Yep. She wanted her to put her through the same pain she was feeling.
Oh, no.
So poetic.
But the marshal came because, murder. And she's like, I'm out. Peace. And she actually got away. She disappeared.
Yeah.
Only for a couple days.
Oh.
And then they found her.
Where?
Somewhere else.
Nah. Gotcha, bitch.
But here's the fun thing. I guess it's fun for somebody. No charges were ever brought up against little Gertie here because they couldn't find the murder weapon.
Mm-hmm.
So they're like, no murder weapon, no evidence, no charges.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that there were several witnesses, there was like other escorts there. Like there was people heard it, people saw it. Like they knew she did it.
People had money though.
But they're like, oh, you know what? No weapon. You didn't do it. So sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Not sorry. You're free to go.
But they did find it.
Yeah, like over 100 years later.
Yeah, let's take her back to trial.
Sure.
Take her back.
Yeah, just like Lizzie Borden.
Yep.
But they even did a mock trial recently and found the evidence for Lizzie Borden wasn't sufficient to actually convict her now. So
yep, she's still free. That's why she's still free.
Yep, that's
she's
why
still
Lizzie
walking
Borden,
free today.
Just like little Gertie. They found it behind the birdcage. So she probably just ditched it somewhere and maybe buried it. She's squat and buried. And from what I understand, you can actually go and see this. They have it on display there at the museum.
I can already see the type of drama that was unfolding there where she was telling her friend, hey, your man's over here flirting with so-and-so.
It's like, oh, no, he didn't.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. They need to make a movie about that.
Yeah, let's do it. With our great producing skills.
Yes. Let's take it all in one take. We can do it all in one take.
One take.
So they do have a woman in white there, of course.
You're jumping ahead.
Ah, damn it.
So people say they see Margarita. They're not 100% sure, but they say people think they've seen her, right? One person went as far as saying, I saw an apparition of a young woman who opened the curtain. She was between the ages of 18 and 20. So teenagers. Mm-hmm. Now she was leaning on the balustrade, and when she looked at the balustrade, she seemed to say that the place was unoccupied and there was no one in the alcoves. She was only wearing a bloomer, so she stood out. So, and they even had someone, it might have been the same person that was on Ghost Adventures, talking about how she saw the curtain pull back and there was a lady just in her underwear being like, hey, I'm available.
So this is using vocabulary outside of my regular vocabulary.
I don't know.
So the balustrade, I'm guessing, is the thing that the bird cage itself that they were in the balcony.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think what they did is if they didn't have a gentleman's
or was that an alcove? Is that an alcove or about?
I don't know. Basically, with the little rooms that they were in, they would pull back the curtains and kind of lean over into the theater area.
They're wearing a bloomer.
Hey, they were mostly naked.
What's a bloomer?
Underwear.
Okay.
They're bloomers. Underwear.
Okay.
So they'd be
Fruit of the Loom. No, that's not even bloomer.
Nope. It would be Victoria's Secret.
Okay.
But he was a man though. So yeah, they basically open the curtains and to tell Johns or guys and hey, come on up here. I'll give you some loving.
Yeah, come up here, trick.
Yeah. And so we've already covered the stiletto. Okay, now the woman in white.
So they say there's a woman in white.
There is that. They're everywhere.
She is said to appear as a proper lady, which is a rarity for the brothel. One employee reported, "All sought."
I said my grammar is bad in my notes too. It's everyone who works there.
Yeah, everyone who works here has had an experience of some kind with the lady in white. I have seen her. She came down the stairwell and into the poker room. She wore a white dress and a white bonnet. She stood in front of me for a very long time without reacting to my presence at all. It's like she didn't even know I was there. She's what they call a residual haunt. No one has ever identified who she is. A bonnet indicated she was a proper lady, and no proper ladies ever came in here. Most of us who work here think she came in with the hearse and is now trapped here.
Now, I found this quote interesting because when they originally opened, that's who they catered to. They wanted proper ladies of the town, and they even had the free ladies' night. So at some point in time, I'm assuming there was actually proper ladies that came there.
My guess is that she passed away suddenly and was looking for her husband.
Quite possibly.
And that she's in there like, where is he? Is he in here?
Yeah, he's in here with one of these dirty painted ladies.
He's in here painting ladies' faces.
Yeah, twice.
I didn't even think about that till after I said it.
Yep, that's dirty. Okay, so this dude named Cody Polston of Haunted Tombstone believes this is a woman named Michelle. It's an apparition who appeared in a photo taken by Donovan's Ghost Patrol in 2006. The image depicts a woman descending down the staircase, gripping the hem of her dress tightly in her hand. They did show this picture on Ghost Adventures, and Zach thought that she was carrying like a bag, and they're like, no, it's her dress. And they're like, okay, cool. And then they moved on.
Another ghost they talked about on Ghost Adventures was a spirit who someone saw in the wine cellar that was butt naked.
Oh, yeah.
And he wishes he would have seen that. I was like,
yeah,
well,
Aaron, the pervert.
No, it was Zach. Zach was like freaking out about how.
Like, naked ghost. I want to see a naked ghost. So that word that I mistyped, it's almost everyone.
Okay. I was like, this is a new. You're using all sorts of new vocabulary.
Yep, I'm making up words as we can go. I want to keep you on your toes. So some other stuff that's happened there in the Goldberg cage, 1980s actually. There was a man named William Hunley who conducted a seance at the Birdcage. Now, at the time, he was the owner of the place. And he hired a prominent psychic medium. I hate that term, but now the medium suspected that there was foul play about, likely from the poltergeist inhabiting the structure. So they thought there was like some evil stuff going on here, right? So let's do a seance.
Right.
During the seance, there was a spirit that started strangling William. And all the attendants were kind of like freaking out, and they were struck by frightful fits, and there was like violence going on. Everyone's just being freaking crazy. And all of this just went on until, I guess, someone like knocked the medium and broke her out of her trance. After the fact, William's neck was bruised for like the next 6 weeks.
Very cool. So there is one ghost who is bound to the theater, although she lurks outside. Carmelita Jimenez. She's one of the brothel's painted ladies who poisoned herself with arsenic in 1888. And she was found throwing up by her boyfriend after he came home from work. Her boyfriend and cousin took her in for medical treatment, but the doctors couldn't save her. She died the next day. And the Birdcage Theater closed its doors the day in her honor.
Yep. But the poker game kept going.
Yeah, that had to keep going.
That had to keep going. Otherwise, it would have been the longest game ever.
So the crying ghost of Carmelita Jimenez can be seen wandering around Tombstone at night, hanging around the brothel that drove her to commit suicide.
Oh, no. So they actually I have a quote here from Carmelita's boyfriend. He said, a few nights ago, after we got through work at the Birdcage Theater, we were where they're both employed, so they both worked at the Birdcage. After the show, they came home. He said, after we had retired for the night, she commenced crying. I asked her the cause of it, and she answered it was not concerning me what she was crying about. He says, I was in the kitchen at the time she took the poison. After rehearsal yesterday, I saw her vomit alongside the washstand. I thought it was emetic. The next thing I know, Josephine, her niece, asked me if I knew what was going on with Carmelita. And he said, she's only a little sick. And she's like, no, she's been poisoned. Or she poisoned herself. Go get the doctor. So that was like a quote from her boyfriend at the time.
That's crazy.
So there's other stuff that happens there. Some stuff that disappears. There's an antique poker chip that appears and reappears, or disappears and reappears.
Cigar smells.
Cigar smells.
Smar.
So this poker chip, actually, there's a cool story with this. Bill Hunley, the son of William Hunley, he started, because the poker chip kept getting moved around, they couldn't find it. He started locking it in the bank vault. and he kind of hoped that this is going to keep it there because it's locked up tight in a vault. They brought in a group of antiquarians.
I thought they were antiquators.
Probably, sure. That's not what it says here.
I don't know.
But antiquators is easier for me to say, so that's where we're going to go. They brought in people to authenticate the relic, and the poker chip had disappeared once again, even though he had it locked up in the vault. It only came back. They only found it after they left, after the antiquators left.
Good. Take that.
And then there's a hat that sits on top of a statue of Wyatt Earp. People have seen this thing move, or like it's constantly just not like they put it on the statue before they go home at night.
Wyatt Earp probably is the one taking off his. I wouldn't wear this shit. I wouldn't wear this shit.
I don't want this. They find it up in the bird cages, find it all over the place. Hey, yeah, they'll be on there when they leave. They come back the next day, and it's moved.
Interesting.
There's also a man named Bill Clayton. He's an employee and a descendant of the sharpshooter of the same name. Claims that there's spirits that are always moving around in there. There's laughing and crying on that you can't explain. That's a weird thing to say. And then he said the smoke, and then the dice table are moved around. And he'll always say to the ghost there, "You leave me alone, and I'll leave you alone." And that's mostly, I think.
So this is the city that's too tough to die.
Too tough to die, and really tough to die in, I guess.
Yeah, too tough to die in.
Too tough to die in. I don't know. So it's haunted as shit.
Yeah, so, and then it doesn't look that big either. From seeing the videos of it up close, as they're walking in, like it does not look very big.
Yeah. And the actual tombstone looks nothing like the movie.
Yeah, there's actual roads there.
Yeah,
there's cars and everything.
It's dirt roads. The buildings don't look the same.
But yeah, that's crazy that same hearse. So the hearse that brought all the dead bodies for 40 years is still taking bodies today. Just kidding. No, it's not.
In the corner.
It's in the corner.
It's in the building.
But yeah, that was everything about Tombstone. The birdcage and Tombstone. Yeah.
Yeah, see?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything else.
I don't think there is. But yes, I do want to check this place out because this place does sound super haunted.
You sound super haunted.
I am super haunted.
Nice.
I know there's some other places in Tombstone as well that we need to go over.
Quite possibly. It was the lawless town of the Wild West.
Mm-hmm. And you thought, and I mean, they had the most haunted things there. Just like all the other places were the most haunted things that they had.
When you got dudes like Wyatt Earp that are just like, I'm in charge now. I'm the law. And then he shoots people. And then people shoot at him. I mean,
it's the Wild West, man. Everyone's getting shot. Hide your daughters, hide your wives.
Imagine
everyone
would
get
like,
shot.
Like, you can open carry here, right, in Salt Lake, in Utah. But just imagine, like, what it would have been like where literally everybody had a 6-shooter on their side.
You wouldn't be cheating in poker, that's for damn sure.
Well, they clearly did, because at least 26 people got shot.
You only get to learn your lesson once.
Or for other reasons, like cheating wasn't the only reason why they got shot, but people died there.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to think about your decisions back then because everyone was packing.
Yeah.
So that's why a lot of people get shot.
Whatever.
Yeah.
They
shoot first, ask questions later. That's the law of the West.
Yeah, you get drunk, Johnny Ringo, whatever his name was, you can shoot the sheriff. It's okay.
Yeah. It's the law of the West.
Because your clan is like, no, he's not going to jail. Wyatt Earp's like, yeah, he is. I'm in charge now.
Like, well, shit, you're getting shot too then, Wyatt.
That's what movies told me.
Well,
I want to go to there.
Yeah, we are definitely going to talk about going there and possibly might not make it. But
yeah, it's on our list of places we'll never go. It's on our list of places we want to go to and probably never will.
We might.
We want to know what's on your list of places you'll probably never go to. And you can tell us by emailing us at evp.pod@gmail.com, or you can hit us up on our social medias, Instagram, Facebook, evp.pod. Check out our reaction videos. If you haven't already listened to last week's episode where they talked about the debunking of ghost orbs, the video that they talked about extensively is up on our social medias, and you can comment on there on what you think it is.
Yeah, tell us. Let us know. And
After you've done that.
After
you know you want to go ghost hunting, especially at the Birdcage
buy
Center,
some shit. Buy some shit.
Go follow our affiliate link to ghoststop.com. Buy yourself some ghost hunting gear and then do ghost hunting.
Yeah, come with us. Yeah, we got to start sending some stuff up ASAP.
Every week we're like, come with us, and we have nothing.
Well, we're going to.
We will.
It's summer's just starting.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I'm off for 3 weeks. We have plenty of time. Well, in August.
I'm down.
Plenty of time to talk to ghosts.
Yeah, ghosts don't play that.
Peace out, butterflies.
This is the EVP Podcast.